Hello once again, and welcome to another edition of the SaskAgToday.com Roundtable. I'm joined by the Chief Agricultural Editor for SaskAgToday.com, Kevin Hursh, as well as 620 CKRM Regina Agri-News Director Ryan Young. I'm Doug Falconer, Agriculture Director at GX94 in Yorkton. And gentlemen, it's been a busy week since last time we talked. We had a big storm roll through a good chunk of the southern and eastern parts of Saskatchewan over the Thanksgiving long weekend, weather halting any sort of harvest activity that was going on for the most part. At last report, the Manitoba harvest is now 93% complete, and the Saskatchewan harvest is 98% complete. Kevin, your take on the weather and how it's impacted the remainder of the harvest?
Well, quite a bit of rain fell in Saskatoon. I was in Saskatoon over the Thanksgiving long weekend. Came down to the farm shortly after that to move out some grain, and I dumped 4 or 5 tenths worth of ice out of the rain gauge when I got here. Mainly snow, little snowbanks still, were on the edges of grain bins and the like, but not nearly the moisture that the southeast got. Interesting to note, though, that even though harvest is all but complete, there are areas and there are producers with crops such as chickpeas or flax that maybe just didn't mature on time. So you'll see pockets and you'll see producers that still have some substantial acreages out there to do, even though the overall stats would seem to indicate that everything is pretty much cleaned up.
How about you, Ryan? Have you heard any reports about how harvest is going in that Regina area?
I haven't really seen any combines out around the Regina area, and I did a lot of traveling this week around the southern part of the province and in the southeastern part of the province specifically. But I haven't seen really any combines, but I have heard that there is still the odd field here and there of, some flax and other crops that need to be taken off, mainly oilseed crops, according to the provincial crop report. But I haven't seen anything personally, but I know that on Sunday I was definitely busy trying to clean up stuff around my house with all the snow and rain that we had. So that was kind of interesting. How about you, Doug? What are things like in Yorkton?
Yeah, I think it's sort of the same situation. I did hear a report from a friend of mine who farms in the Esterhazy area for a company there, and that they still have 6,000 acres of flax out as of Saturday before that storm hit. So I'm sure they'll be waiting a little while. It's going to take a while for this to all dry up. It's been very cloudy and damp, really, ever since that snowstorm hit on Saturday and Sunday and into Monday even. So it's going to be a little while before those guys get back out onto the fields with their combines. But of course, on the positive side, we are seeing the fall cattle run get underway. And Ryan, you've been busy with that.
That's right. As part of the 620 CKRM Ranch Roundup, we did 3 stops this week from Tuesday, Wednesday, and today. As we were recording, I was out earlier this morning, kind of in the Mydale area, and also went up north around Ituna to the Insinger Community Pasture, and then back down into the southeast again where the Laurier Grazing Corporation is, kind of a little further north of Mydale. But overall, it was you couldn't have asked for any better weather in terms of being out there to visit and providing coffee and donuts for the guys before they started sorting out cattle. It was kind of overcast and cool, but thankfully it didn't rain on us, so I appreciate that very much. But yeah, they were appreciative of us being there. They were saying for the most part the conditions have been pretty good in the southeast. I believe 17 inches of rain is what they got this season. 16, 17 inches right around in there, which is a lot more than what they had last year. So that's good in that regard. But in the Insinger Community Pasture, Kelvin Howerluck was saying that they were a little bit drier this year. They didn't get as much rain as they would have liked to. But when we did stop there, that was on the Tuesday, they had a little bit of snow on the ground. So kind of interesting to see that. So yeah, that's kind of how it's gone. And obviously, things are busy with the fall cattle run. Lots of guys coming out to pick up their cattle and yeah, just kind of go from there. And hopefully, things are well in terms of a marketing process and a financial perspective, as we know that cattle prices continue to be strong.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of reports. We obviously have the Heartland livestock reports from Yorkton and Verdon on our radio station here, and they're talking about how their auctions for next week and the week after are already full, and you have to book ahead of time. Sounds like it's quite the experience right now, Kevin, for livestock producers, either trying to get those cattle out before the winter hits, but also hopefully the price is maintained for them as well.
Yes, it's busy season with the fall calf run now fully underway and sales being booked up, and producers need to book well in advance to pick their sale, and some do that just months in advance. They've got a targeted location and a sale date. One beef industry caution this week, and it's hard to know what to read into this, but Donald Trump has been saying, or was quoted as saying, and there's tape of it. It's not just a story, that they're about to do something about high beef prices. He was bragging about how the price of a lot of things have dropped, but they haven't solved beef prices. But they got something that they're doing to bring down beef prices. And that's kind of worrisome, because you kind of wonder what kind of measure they could enact to interfere in the marketplace. And of course, with the Canadian and U.S. markets so closely aligned, that's a little bit of a cautionary note. We'll see if more information comes out on this, or whether it was just on a lark, or whether there's actually some substance to it. But it's bears watching.
Speaking of international relations, Federal Agriculture Minister Heath MacDonald sent out a news release today because his trip to Mexico has concluded. Have you had a chance to review what he took part in, Kevin?
It looks like he was very busy, and saw lots of different industry, and from everything from somebody that invests in oats in Canada, to people that crush and process canola, to a major wheat buyer. It appears that there were many interesting meetings and some good relations established. Always tough to know how much that really influences commerce in the medium term. Of course, if an official from another country wants to come and visit and do a photo op, and you're going to be polite, you do business, but does it result in more business or better business down the line? I guess it's with the world the way it is, with all the multitude of trade issues, it never hurts to have personal relationships and pay attention to customers that you want to continue to do business with.
And Ryan, you had mentioned that Federal Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand was in China today with discussions there. Did you hear anything out of that?
Nothing concrete, but I do know that they met her and her counterpart. They were meeting to discuss among other things the tariffs, obviously, and how they can go about resolving that issue. But one thing that did stick out to me the most was Prime Minister Mark Carney. He was asked about again whether getting rid of the Chinese electric vehicle tariffs would result in the canola tariffs being removed, as well as tariffs on yellow peas, pork, and seafood. And Carney basically said that it's a little bit naive to think that, that would be just as simple as that. There's, a lot of layers to it. There's some complexity involved with, trying to deal with these issues and stuff that we're probably not aware about behind the scenes that goes on. And it's kind of like playing chess more than checkers. So that's kind of the one thing that stood out to me a little bit more from the international front.
Kevin, what did you think of the fact that Anita Anand is in China, and of course Carney's comments from Thursday suggesting that it's a bigger issue than just electric vehicles versus canola?
It's good to see relations between Canada and China thaw out a bit. It's also good to see relations thaw out a bit between Canada and India, and I think that only bodes well. But Carney's comments, are not unexpected. It's just not a simple matter. Drop EV tariffs, the canola tariff and the tariff on peas is dropped. Yeah, but then what do you have to worry about how the U.S. will react in that whole auto industry if Canada opens its market to Chinese electric vehicles? So there are many layers to this, and I don't think we're going to see an easy or quick resolution. Also interesting to note that the leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, is also, when asked, not calling for an end to the electric vehicle tariffs. You would think he would be more closely aligned with Western Canadian interests and a free market, but does not seem to be the case. So without the official opposition even pushing that direction on this issue, I think we're going to have to wait and see how this chess game plays out in I think probably the months ahead.
And finally, of course, the temporary foreign worker program. Kevin, you had a story on that for us this week.
Yeah, I think a lot of people find it very confusing, and it is a complicated program to bring in foreign workers under the foreign workers program. The application is complicated. You have to prove that the Canadian workers are not available. You have to know all of your obligations for travel and housing and benefits for the workers that you do bring in. Many people utilize consultants at some considerable cost to help them with this, but the Canadian Agricultural Human Resource Council has got a training program underway. You know, it's not cheap at $2,500, but it runs you through to over 6 weeks with weekly sessions online to try to understand what you need to do. And even if you are using a consultant, to at least understand what they are doing for you. And on October 22nd, there's a free 30-minute session just to understand what the program offers, should producers be interested in taking part. Typically, it's been vegetable and fruit and beekeeping operations that have really utilized the temporary foreign workers program, but I hear of more and more of the larger grain and cattle operations also considering the program to meet some of their labor needs.
All right. Well, on that note, that'll do it for this week's edition of the SaskAgToday.com Roundtable. On behalf of 620 CKRM Regina Agri-News Director Ryan Young and the Chief Agricultural Editor for SaskAgToday.com Kevin Hursh, I'm GX94 Yorkton Agriculture Director Doug Falconer saying so long until next time.